Today, I've got a very special show for you. We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Eyes Open by Snow Patrol with little help from Gary Lightbody of Snow Patrol. Hello, Gary.
Hi, John. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. It's great to see you. I hope
Thanks
you're well
me.
as well. And it's great to have you here because we're going to talk about the whole of Eyes Open. But before we get into it, I thought I'd ask you how you feel about it now.
It's the album that changed everything. I mean, we ended up playing all around the world because of this record. I love it, and we still play, 3 or 4 songs from it most nights. You know, we might throw a fifth in there somewhere as well. Sometimes You Could Be Happy gets played. Sometimes. I still feel very connected to it because we play some songs live, and it's a big part of my life.
Yeah, and I know that you've been digging back into it to celebrate this reissue, which is quite a deluxe affair with all sorts of extra tracks and B-sides and remixes and rare recordings. And what's it been like sifting through all that material?
Well, I have to give massive credit to Nathan Connolly. Massive hello to Johnny McDade as well. The three of us have been sort of listening back. But Nathan has been the one that's put it all together. He was the one he's the keeper of the archives. He has been doing that for years. He's got a fantastic memory. He'll remember a gig in 2005 or whatever. And he's able to, he was able to kind of find all the demos, find all the live recordings, the remixes and everything. And then he would send things to us and we'd have a discussion about, usually like an early version of a song would have terrible lyrics, so that would be the reason why we go maybe not that one. But yeah, Nathan did such a massive amount of work on this.
Yeah, but you did do some great sleeve notes, which I've read, which are really interesting and entertaining as well. So people have that treat to look forward to. And this album has not only given you an amazing life after its worldwide success, but it's got so many amazing statistics attached to it. So just for 2006, so it came out in May 2006, it became that year's UK's best-selling album of 2006. Then it went on to be the 15th best-selling album of the 2000s, and it's still one of the best-selling albums of all time in UK chart history, which is pretty amazing. And now you have billions of streams of some of the songs on the record and millions of streams for all of the songs on the album, which is pretty amazing. It seems to have been one of those records and one of those collections of songs that has a life of its own. It just seems to keep contacting and reaching out to people afresh.
Yeah, it's extraordinary that's happened, that it's had such a long kind of lasting in the memory, and it still feels quite present today. Feels like we played some shows last summer. We're about to play some more shows this summer. And you see people that are like, perhaps not even born when this album came out, and they're singing along, and you're going, it's just like your mind goes, how's this new generation getting these songs? But obviously that's one of the good things. It's not all positive, but it's one of the good things about streaming. And also, I guess, their parents were playing that album in the car when they were growing up or something like that, and it just sort of feels like it's still alive. The album is still alive. It's not like a dead record that just kind of sits and then it has to be reanimated for a 20th anniversary, and we go, remember when we did this? It's like it still feels like it's very much alive.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of describing it, isn't it? Because it is very much still alive. People are still listening to this music, and it's still being used in various different ways from film and TV, and somehow it seemed to connect in a way that it appealed to lots of different kinds of people, and it could be used in lots of different kinds of ways. You can soundtrack your own personal life with it, or it could soundtrack a really heart-wrenching scene in a film or a TV show, or soundtrack people scoring some of the greatest goals of all time.
Yes, that's my favorite type of it soundtracking, but yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, let's talk about the first song. So You're All I Have starts the album. It was the lead single, I think, from the album. And it starts, with a bang, really. It's a rocker.
Yeah. And I think very early on, somebody asked earlier about, we'll get to the finish line because we're doing the whole record, but they asked, was that always destined to be the last song? I wasn't sure, but I think I am more sure that this was meant to be the first one. Like this very much sort of insinuated itself pretty early on that it was like I'm starting this record. So I think wanting to start with a bit of a bang was good.
And it continues a feel of older Snow Patrol, even from the very early days, I think, because it has that kind of metoric beat to it. It's got a certain kind of rhythm that I think even from the very early days you were locked into creating hypnotic rhythms and beats.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'm glad that it feels that way too, because I don't think that. I think that perhaps some people think that maybe we stepped away from our roots, but I always think that they're in there. Always in everything that we do. You know, indie music is still always was and always will be a big part of my life. So it feels like that's part of the DNA of it.
Yeah. And playing "You're All I Have Now," you know, how does that feel?
Well, that's one of the songs that's still in the set and still gets a great reaction and still feels really awesome to play, and it still seems to resonate.
Excellent. Right. Well, we're underway in our conversation talking through every single track on Eyes Open, and this is the first of them. This is "You're All I Have" by Snow Patrol.
The darkness deep in you, a frightening magic I cling to. But give me a chance to hold on. Give me a chance to hold on. Give me a chance to hold on. Just give me something to hold on to. It's so clear now that you
Snow Patrol, You're All I Have on Exposure Radio X, the opening track to the Eyes Open album. I'm playing the whole thing tonight. Gary Lightbody is talking us through it track by track. And next up, Hands Open.
It's hard to argue when you won't stop making sense. But my tongue still misbehaves and it keeps digging my own grave with my hands open and my eyes open. I just keep hoping that your heart opens. Why would I sabotage the best thing that I have? Well, it makes it easier to know exactly what I want with my hands open and my eyes open. I just keep hoping that your heart opens. It's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Gotta be more than hoping it's right. I wanna hear you laugh like you really mean it. Collapsing to me, tired with joy. It's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Gotta be more than hoping it's right. I wanna hear you laugh like you really mean it. Collapsing to me, tired with joy. Put Sufjan Stevens on and we'll play your favorite song. Chicago bursts to life and your sweet smile remembers you. My hands open and my eyes open. I just keep hoping that your heart opens. It's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Gotta be more than hoping it's right. I wanna hear you laugh like you really mean it. Collapsing to me, tired with joy. It's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Gotta be more than hoping it's right. I wanna hear you laugh like you really mean it. Collapsing to me, tired with joy. It's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Gotta be more than hoping it's right. I wanna hear you laugh like you really mean it. Collapsing to me, tired with joy. It's not as easy as willing it all to be right. Gotta be more than hoping it's right. I wanna hear you laugh like you really mean it. Collapsing to me, tired with joy.
It is Snow Patrol with Hands Open from Eyes Open, the fourth Snow Patrol album celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. I'm John Kennedy, and with me is Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol. We're playing the whole thing, talking about every single track. Hands Open continues the propulsive momentum of the album. And it's got some amazing riffs, like this strong riff right at the start for the first kind of minute or so.
Yeah, Nathan Connolly riffing away. The man's a legend. We used to play that live and we don't anymore. It's been a long time since we played it live. It's a shame because I think that one really works live. Not sure why it fell away. But I did fall off the stage one time playing it. Maybe that's why. And I only just remembered that there.
Wow. How come?
In Seattle. I can't remember where we were playing. But yeah, I think there's probably footage of it online if you want to go looking. I felt very bad. It was a sort of Family Guy fall, like when Peter Griffin falls in Family Guy. It was like face plant. Yeah, it was. I don't think that's why we stopped playing it. But I think that song, like, maybe resonates. The thing I remember about it is the Sufjan Stevens kind of connection that we mentioned, Chicago burst to life. And it's that album was a big record when we were making this album. The two records, when we get to Martha Wainwright, obviously, but those two records, the Martha Wainwright's first album and Sufjan Stevens' sort of first two States albums, and I said this earlier on, but he was going to make 50 of them, but stopped at 2. But I'd love to hear the rest of them. But those records were being played in Michigan and Illinois, were being played in Come On Feel the Illinois. Was being played sort of constantly at that time, so we wanted to add that in there.
Yeah, it's a really nice reference and kind of takes us back to that time, and hopefully people will discover those records again.
But it's such a great record.
But quite different to what Snow Patrol do, in a way.
Yeah, very much so. And I think his songwriting is so extraordinary, and like there's so much complexity to it, and so much like the orchestration and arrangements are so brilliant and kind of breathtaking, and perhaps we're maybe known for maybe it's kind of like simpler arrangements, but yeah, he's a big influence on me.
I guess he does write a good rousing chorus, which you do as well.
Well, he's a genius, but and I'm certainly not. But he's a big part of our lives, and I've never met him.
Right,
So,
wow,
yeah.
Amazing. Maybe that's still to come. That would be great. Recorded in Grouse Lodge?
Yes, most of it in Grouse Lodge, some of it in Parkgate in the south of England, but we moved to Grouse Lodge and did most of it there.
Yeah, so that's in County Westmeath in Ireland, about an hour from Dublin or so. But written in the Roundhouse in Dingle, which is in another part of Ireland.
Yes, it's in Kerry. Yeah, County Kerry, down in the edge of Ireland. Down, there's Ballydavid. It's the town just past Dingle. And there's a wee house down there, which is literally just a wee round, looks like a cake, and it's on the foot of Mount Brandon. And the story goes, and I write a little bit about it in the album notes. But the story goes that Kate Bush wrote running up that hill, staring up at Mount Brandon. It turns out, no, she didn't. She wrote different songs there, but she was there. But I was telling that story for years, that she wrote running up that hill there. And people are like, oh, that's amazing. So I don't know how many people have told that story on to other people, and how far that lie has got. But it was an honest lie in the sense that I thought I was, if somebody told me that in Ballydavid, that's what had happened. But nope, I have to correct the record now and say that I'm afraid my Kate Bush story is wrong.
But did you write Chasing Cars there?
No.
No, right, okay.
No.
But you had gone to Dingle to write songs?
Yes, we wrote Open Your Eyes there.
Right.
And a few other songs, but we were mostly rehearsing for the to go in to record the album. We were writing some. We've written a fair few. Chasing Cars was written already. Chasing Cars was written at Jack Knifley, our producer's house, in his studio. I was just coming up with ideas. Jack Knife was recording, and I was just one after the other. And I wrote 10 songs that night, and 3 or 4 bottles of wine. And 5 of those songs ended up on the album.
Well, that's an incredibly productive night.
Yes.
This was in Kent.
The most productive night I've ever had. But Chasing Cars was one of those.
Right.
And even amongst the 5, it stood out massively. You know, like the next day we were listening with hangovers, but going, maybe something is here.
Yeah, that's interesting. This was in his studio in Kent at the time, I think.
He was in Kent.
Because he then moved to the States.
He moved to Topanga Canyon in the States, and he's moved again now. But
right. So you wrote 10 songs. 5 of them ended up on the album in that one night, and Chasing Cars was just one of them. But you knew there was something in it.
Yeah. I don't think it's pessimism. I think what it is just realism. Like, we spent 10 years not having any success. We'd had one album now, Final Straw, that was a success. There was no reasonable sort of statistics to tell us that would keep going forever. We're just like, okay, we've had one great album. Maybe that's it. Then Chasing Cars came along. I thought, that sounds great, but I didn't think that's going to be massive. Like, when we finally recorded it, and the arrangement took a long time. The song was very simple, but the arrangement took ages in the studio. And Jack Knifley was the one that figured it out. But when the song was finally finished and people from the label, Jim Chancellor and other people from the label came to listen, that's when people started going, oh, this might be good.
Yeah. That's really interesting, isn't it? Because you just don't know, I guess, when you create something, what's going to happen. And as you say, it's kind of written quite quickly and easily, but then the recording proved problematic, trying to find the right arrangement. And
took ages, yeah.
You might have got to the end of your tether with it. You might have thought, well, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, maybe this doesn't work. It was like... I don't know why I'm referencing Family Guy so much, but there's a scene, the sea captain guy who's got all the wooden legs on arms. He's trying to find an eye patch scenario which works, and he's got too many eye patches on. He's got, I'll figure it out. We have too many things where we're just trying to get the right configuration of eye patches, and we just sort of knew it when we figured we'd know it when we heard it. It was one of those things where you couldn't plan it. And I don't like stuff being planned. I don't like it being formulaic. I don't like it being structured. I prefer it to be as completely free-spirited as possible. And then we'll just sort of try things until it works. It takes longer that way. Sometimes markedly longer. But eventually we got there.
Yeah. And clearly you got it right, because it's gone on to be such a popular song. It's had billions of streams, and research in 2019 said that it was the most played song of the 21st century on UK radio back in 2019. So who knows what it's like now.
2019 was a bit early to be calling it the most played song of the 21st century, as I said at the time, but it was nice to hear that, obviously, because it shows how enduring it's been. But it's
maybe they should have had "so far" in brackets.
I know, that's what I kept saying. I just kept saying "so far," like so far in every interview I did.
And where does the phrase "chasing cars" come from?
Well, I don't really like telling that story anymore, because it was an offhand thing my dad said to me once, but it doesn't put him in the best light. But it was more, I'll tell it in this way. It's more in that it's like a reference of something my father said to me, and that's how I remember it. It means something to me because it's something my dad said, and he's no longer with us. And it always makes me smile. He was very, very funny man, and would be quite, like, his humor would be quite like he'd take the mickey, you know what I mean, quite a lot, and of me particularly. That was his way of telling me that he loved me. At least that's how I have tried to process it in my mind. Having the fact that he never told me he loved me, but he was a very, very funny man, and that was an offhand comment of his. But it was off the cuff comment, excuse me, and it just endured.
Yeah,
and it makes me think of him. When I think of that song, it makes me think of him sometimes, even though it's not about him, it's about somebody else.
Yeah, excellent. Well, we're going to hear it again right now. This is Snow Patrol with Chasing Cars on Radio X.
We'll do it all, everything on our own. We don't need anything or anyone. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? I don't quite know how to say how I feel. waste time chasing cars around our heads. I need your grace to remind me to find my own. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world? Forget what we're told before we get too old. Show me a garden that's bursting into life. All that I am, all that I ever was, is here in your perfect eyes. They're all I can see. I don't know where, confused about how as well. Just know that these things will never change for us at all. If I lay here, if I just lay here, would you lie with me and just forget the world?
An all-time classic, Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol on Exposure Radio X. It's the third song on the Eyes Open album, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year and tonight on Exposure Radio X. I'm playing you the whole thing. Gary Lightbody is talking us through it track by track. And next up, it's Shut Your Eyes. Shut Your Eyes by Snow Patrol on Radio X from the album Eyes Open, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year and today with Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol, talking us through the whole thing track by track. And Shut Your Eyes, I think that was another single at the time, was it? And to me, this also taps into, or it should have been a single.
It was a single in 3 countries.
Right, okay.
It was a single in Holland, Belgium, and Germany. And it every time we play it there, it feels like a single. You know, like it does have it does. It's funny how some things are released, some places are not released, others, and you see the gig, like the chart, the heart monitor of the gig will be different in places where, you know, singles have been different. And it's really interesting to see that sort of recognition sort of come into the gig. Like maybe you play a new song, then you play Shut Your Eyes. You know, you get that big movement in the audience.
So when you play around the world, you have to adjust the set accordingly.
Yeah, sometimes. Like for example, like I will get to Open Your Eyes. So we'll talk about Open Your Eyes in a bit.
Yeah, excellent. But Shut Your Eyes, and then again, I think this connects to some early Snow Patrol material. I always remember seeing you a long time ago and thinking, oh, you know, this band like Stereolab. And is that true? I mean,
yes.
Because there was always a bit of you didn't sound like Stereolab, but I could hear.
No, I loved Stereolab, so I'm very glad that there's some resonance in there of Stereolab. That's fantastic. I think that Shut Your Eyes it does hark back, and I'm happy about it. It also, though, has a groove to it, and it certainly has perhaps even more of a groove now when we play it live, and we've sort of lent into that. And I don't think we were doing that at that time as much. I think that sort of came later, where we put in more sort of electronic kind of elements into stuff, sometimes background elements, but sometimes they go into the foreground. And I think with Shut Your Eyes, that was maybe an early kind of like sort of for what's to come later. Yeah. So it harks back and forwards, I think.
Yeah, which is kind of clever.
Well, I don't know if it was deliberate. But
and I mean, you mentioned playing it live. I mean, it has that Shut Your Eyes moment in when everybody shuts their eyes and sings along, as it were, to the lyrics that tell us to shut our eyes and sing. But that becomes a big thing when you play it live, doesn't it? Yeah,
live at the end, because I'll always try and mix it up. Sometimes I'll split the audience in 2 and I'll have them singing it to each other, and you can... That can be great, and sometimes you can accidentally set the audience against each other, so you've got to be careful with that. But and then sometimes I'll take it right down to nothing, which is my favorite one. When you feel like I'll have to feel into it, like if an audience is ready to go right down to 0, because there can't be any chat at all, because to make it feel like, if it's 20, 30, 50,000 people, that can be a tricky sort of wave to ride on. But when it works, it really works, because the loudest part of it, like, it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing, when the loudest part of it is always louder than any other part of it, like any other way that you do it. So that's really fun. So it's sort of dependent on atmosphere in the night, where we just take that. But it's always a fun bit to kind of go off the set list and just do whatever.
Yeah, totally. And the album continues with It's Beginning to Get to Me, which is, again, a bit of a rocker, really. You know, and I think it's interesting, because when you listen to some of the songs from the album separately, as you know, as you do in a way, and they get used in various different places and you hear them on the radio, you get one impression of the record, and then listening again to it track by track in order is quite interesting, because there's a lot of rocking out, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and it's got a real momentum to it. You know, and those other moments where you take it down a little, they're highlighted by the fact that they're surrounded by all these songs which have a quite an up-tempo feel to them, and It's Beginning to Get to Me is one of them.
Yeah, Paul Wilson wrote the music for that, and I think it's great. We used to play that in the set as well, and it always went down really well. We haven't played it in a while, but I think it's a cracker. I think it's an absolute cracker, and you're right. It's a rock. I mean, my favorite bits of ours generally are around the ones that rock, because that's kind of that was my upbringing.
Yeah,
loud music.
Yeah.
louder the better. Although my ears have suffered for that now. But
And it's interesting because it kind of soars, and you go up a few octaves or something, and
certainly not a few octaves, but maybe a little bit. I'm not Jeff Buckley. I wouldn't be able to shine his shoes, but it's a really fun song. We should put that back in the set.
Yeah, well, listening to the whole album again, I think that you should do the whole album again at some point.
We are going to do the whole album in September.
Yeah.
We're going to announce that pretty soon.
Very exciting.
Just a few, not a tour.
Excellent. Right, well, we're going to hear It's Beginning to Get to Me now. This is Snow Patrol with It's Beginning to Get to Me from Eyes Open on Radio X.
Something that's purer than the water, like we were. It's not there now. In eloquence and anger are all we have, like Saturn's rings. Loop around me, too hard to hold. Lash out first at all the things we don't like or understand, and it's beginning to get to me that I know more of the stars and sea than I do of what's in your head. Barely touching in our cold bed. Are you beginning to get my point? That all this fighting with aching joints is doing nothing but tire us out. And no one knows what this fight's about. The answer phone, the lonely sound of your voice, frozen in time. I only need the compass that you gave me to guide me on, and it's beginning to get to me that I know more of the stars and sea than I do of what's in your head. Barely touching our cold bed. Are you beginning to get my point? That all this fighting with aching joints is doing nothing but tire us out. And no one knows what this fight's about. It's so thrilling but also wrong. Don't have to prove that you are so strong, 'cause I can carry you on my back after our enemies attack. I tried to tell you before I left, but I was screaming under my breath. You are the only thing that makes sense. Just ignore all this present tense.
It's as jam-packed with rockers as it is bangers and ballads. It is Snow Patrol with It's Beginning to Get to Me, the fifth song on the Eyes Open album, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year, with Gary Lightbody talking us through it track by track. And next up, You Could Be Happy.
You could be happy and I won't know, but you weren't happy the day I watched you go. And all the things that I wish I had not said, or played in loops till it's madness in my head. Is it too late to remind you how we were? And not our last days of silence, scream and blur. Most of what I remember makes me sure I should have stopped you from walking out the door. You could be happy, I hope you are. You made me happier than I'd been by far. But somehow everything I own smells of you. And for the tiniest moment, it's all not true. Do the things that you always wanted to. Without me there to hold you back, don't think, just do. More than anything I want to see you, girl. Take a glorious bite out of the whole world.
You are listening to Radio X. I'm John Kennedy. I've got a very special show tonight. I'm playing the whole of Eyes Open by Snow Patrol with Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol here, talking us through it track by track. You Could Be Happy is the sixth song, which we've just heard. It starts mellow. It's got these beautiful chiming sounds, and it's a beautiful song. That's all. That's the simplest way of describing it.
Yeah, it's that music, but because the song itself is very, it's very simple. But when I wrote the music, I must have just written it on the guitar. I can't remember writing it, but I did. And then it was Jackknife who had the idea for the music box, and we made a music box or he made a music box. Did he make it himself? He might have made it himself. That played that song, the melody.
Wow.
You know, but unfortunately you can't, it needs to be programmed in to be in the right places. It's not going to be absolutely perfect. So we needed to then program it, but there was a box made and there is elements of that. So there's elements of both. So there's that. I like as many possible natural sounds on a record. And Jackknife and Johnny McDaid, obviously now being he's one of the biggest producers in the world, but both Jackknife and Johnny love to, they'll always have their a microphone recording, a creaky door or some sound that's going like a car going past, but you're you hear the sound that's recorded, and you go, okay, and then 20 minutes later, you hear the sound that they've turned it into. And it's like, what the fuck? Goodness me. That's like it sounds like a cello being set on fire underwater or something. And you're like that would be possible underwater. But it just, they turn it into something that doesn't make any sense. And yet it's a natural sound that, I like the basis of stuff to be kind of natural, organic, there's that word, as much as possible. And this is a track that sort of definitely is steeped in that natural sound because it was literally built for it.
Yeah, that is amazing. Now, I wonder if he still has that item.
I don't know. And if it's me that was in charge of it, then it's definitely been lost.
And in terms of, I mean, we've talked about how it's quite a rocking album in many ways, but there's also there are other sounds to be found there, and there are kind of choirs on there and strings in places, and it seems as if after the release and success of Final Straw, and Run was the kind of runaway hit from that, and then Jackknife Lee went on to work with U2 and recorded How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, and that was really successful. So the two of you, or the whole group of you, were kind of riding a wave of confidence.
Perhaps.
But it seems that surely that fed into the recording and the writing of this material.
Yes, I don't think I've ever been truly confident in my life, but maybe at that time there was like something, a semblance of confidence. It was like just a whiff. But yeah, like because Jackknife was U2, and they told me this, that they loved Final Straw, so I'm not like. Hopefully, I'm saying that with authority. And they hired Jackknife because he'd made that record. And then Jackknife made How to Dismantle the Atomic Bomb, and he learned, like to his own, like, and he told me, like, I learned a lot working with them. And then we went in and made, like, so you're right, there is a sort of there's an ascent man. We are growing, and like individually and collectively at that time. And maybe Eyes Open was an album that could have only been made with those elements all in place. And it definitely helped us make even though it was our fourth album in a lot of ways, because it was our first album after our first successful album. It was in a lot of ways our second album, the difficult second album. It could have been, because trying to follow an album as big as Final Straw, we could have collapsed under the weight of it.
Yeah. Did you feel pressure at the time?
I did, but I did say this earlier as well in a different conversation, but I think we left it behind us when we went into the studio. I don't exactly know how or whether it was even discussed, but I don't remember thinking about, like, if any of us sitting around going, oh God, we better get this right, or else, we're going to be, it's going to be disastrous for our career. I don't remember any conversations like that. I think we were just trying to make the record and trying to make music together, and I think that's always the mindset we've went into it with.
Yeah, but I guess maybe, did you think, well, we can do it because we've done it once before?
Yes, but because of the first 10 years of no success and then Final Straw, some success, you're still waiting for the tap on the shoulder to say, you're not supposed to be here. It was meant to be somebody else. It took a long time for that feeling to go away. In fact, we parodied that feeling in the video for Cold Out in the Dark, where Jack Davenport, the brilliant actor Jack Davenport, literally pushes me out of the way in the video and becomes the lead singer of the band. So it's that feeling I had for such a long time of, like, yeah, it doesn't really matter how successful Final Straw was or Eyes Open was. It's like I'm always going to feel imposter syndrome. It's a fairly common feeling.
Yeah, a very common feeling. But I think something allowed you to be free enough for the recording and writing of this to...
Yeah, Grouse Lodge helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because just being in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, Yeah, I think there's a real confidence in doing those rocky numbers, and also things like "You Could Be Happy," which is different again, because there could have been somebody saying, "Hang on a minute, that's not Run." Why are you doing that? No, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
yeah, and also "Make This Go On Forever," which is the next song, because that has another kind of feel to it. There is a choir on this, or is that a choir of Snow Patrol people?
I don't know whether we had a choir or whether we had. I think I remember because I'm pretty sure Ian Archer and Paul Archer were on. Ian and Paul, who've known for a long time. Ian Archer, who wrote lots of great songs with James Bay and Jake Bugg, and is a brilliant producer and songwriter. I'm pretty sure they were in that choir, and Ian had been in Snow Patrol. And for Final Straw as well. So before Nathan joined the band, Ian was in. He co-wrote Chocolate. He co-wrote Run. So we did a small friends choir, and then they had to sing multiple times to make it into a bigger choir.
Yeah, because I was listening to it thinking, there seem to be loads of voices on this. There must be a choir involved.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
But it's a choir of friends.
A choir of friends.
Yeah, fantastic. And this is quite a song in that it starts slow, but it builds and builds and gets pretty epic. But then it also kind of completely breaks down at the end.
Yes, and now live, that song has become like 10 minutes long. So live, it breaks down at the end, and then it breaks into something else, and then lifts and builds again, and then builds even higher again. Because there just seems to be adding bits to it. It will eventually just be the whole set, but it's very long. But it feels. I never get the feeling, and I do get this feeling when. Like, if we play a new song, sometimes you get the feeling that, the crowd are struggling with this one. It's new. It's new information. And you kind of just have to go, okay, well, that's what it is. But sometimes when you play a song that's too long, you can also get that feeling. You're like, okay, well, maybe we should shorten this. I've never had that feeling with Make This Go On Forever. It's a very aptly named song, which totally by accident, but it always feels like it's a moment in the set, or a series of moments. And really fun. So this version, I think it's like 4 minutes something, maybe 5, maybe
5:47.
5:47.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's already 5:47. So it's over 10 minutes now,
right?
For sure.
Which is amazing, because it's not necessarily the one that you would pick out of the record that says, right, 20 years later, that's going to be a staple of the set, and it will be expanded to be 10 minutes long. But it's had a life of its own.
Yeah. Yeah, we even had a conversation about Glastonbury. We went at 60 minutes at Glastonbury last year, but we even had a conversation about should Make This Go On Forever be in the set, which would have meant we had to cut 2 songs, but it didn't end up in the set. But the fact that we're even having a conversation about it means a lot.
Yeah, and it must be really exciting when songs take on their own life, with something like Chasing Cars, but also a song that maybe people aren't necessarily familiar with because they've not heard it on TV and they've not heard it on the radio loads. But if they like Snow Patrol, they've heard it and they love it when you play it.
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but it certainly feels like it goes down well.
And what does it refer to, Make This Go On Forever? Happy feelings.
I hope so. That's what I always hope, I think that it's I always think that the thing that I want to go on forever is the moment. It's the most unlikely thing that will go on forever. Whatever this moment is that I'm having, like whether I swim in the sea every day, I'll have a lot of moments in the sea where there's like double rainbows and seabirds diving into the water, seals popping their heads up, and you're like, can we just live here for a while? So those are always the moments. So I'm quite sure that it probably refers to that, which is, the paradox of it, I think, is something I'm always trying to explore. Is like trying to make a moment go on forever, but it's something that'll, it's like what do they call it in Buddhism? A koan, like an unsolvable puzzle.
It's a great sentiment, though, and loads of us will relate to that. And we're going to hear that in song now. This is Snow Patrol with Make This Go On Forever on Radio X.
Please don't let this turn into into something it's not. I can only give you everything I've got. I can't be as sorry as you think I should, but I still love you more than anyone else could. All that I keep thinking throughout this whole flight is it could take my whole damn life to make this right. The splintered mast I'm holding on won't save me long, because I know fine well that what I did was wrong. The last girl and the last reason to make this last for as long as I could. First kissing the first time that I felt connected to anything. The weight of water, the waves on me to look past everything I had ever learned. The final word and the final sentence you ever uttered to me was love. We have got through so much worse than this before. What's so different this time that you can't ignore? You say it is much more than just my last mistake, and we should spend some time apart for both our sakes. The last girl and the last reason to make this last for as long as I could. First kissing the first time that I felt connected to anything. The weight of water, the waves on me to look past everything I had ever learned. The final word and the final sentence you ever uttered to me was love. The last girl and the last reason to make this last for as long as I could. First kissing the first time that I felt connected to anything. The weight of water, the waves on me to look past everything I had ever learned. The final word and the final sentence you ever uttered to me was love. And I don't know where to look. My words just break and melt. Please just save me from this darkness. Please just save me from this darkness. And I don't know where to look.
Snow Patrol, Make This Go On Forever on Exposure Radio X, the 7th song on the Eyes Open album, getting the Exposure album playback treatment tonight. I'm playing you the whole thing, and Gary Lightbody from the band is talking us through it track by track.
I'll find the map and draw a straight line over rivers, farms and state lines. The distance from me to where you'd be, it's only fingerless that I see. I touch the place where I'd find your face. My fingers in creases of distant dark places. I hang my coat up in the first bar. There is no peace that I've found so far. The laughter penetrates my silence as drunken men find flaws in science. Their words mostly noises, ghosts with just voices. Your words in my memory are like music to me. The miles from where you are, I lay down on the cold ground. I pray that something picks me up and sets me down in your warm arms. After I've traveled so far, we'd set the fire to the third bar. We'd share each other like an island until exhausted close our eyelids and dreaming pick up from the last place we left off. Your soft skin is weeping, a joy you can't keep it. The miles from where you are, I lay down on the cold ground, and I pray that something picks me up and sets me down in your warm arms. The miles from where you are, I lay down on the cold ground, and I pray that something picks me up and sets me down in your warm arms.
It is Snow Patrol on Radio X. That is Set the Fire to the Third Bar, featuring Martha Wainwright. It's the 8th song on the Eyes Open album, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. I'm John Kennedy. Gary Lightbody is here celebrating with me. And Martha Wainwright features, you mentioned earlier on in our conversation, Chicago by Sufjan Stevens and Come On Feel the Illinois as being one of the two important albums that you were listening to around that time. And Martha Wainwright's debut was the other record that you would listen to at Grouse Lodge, I presume, and just in your general day-to-day
Yeah, I think I probably had, at the time, I think it was probably a CD Walkman at the time. I probably had the CD in my ears when I wasn't in the studio quite a lot. And we would have little breaks where we would listen to music, just like ear breaks. And Martha's album would go on an awful lot. There's a particular song on it that anybody that knows the album will know that I can't say the name of the song on the radio.
Right.
But it's one of the greatest songs ever written, I think. And we were obsessed by that record, and Jackknife towards the end of the recording said we should ask Martha. We didn't know Martha, but we should see if we can find Martha's management's number and ask her if she wants to come and sing at one of the songs, because she's been such a big part of the album. And I was like, that's amazing. And then managed to get through to somebody at their management, and she was up for it in theory, and I was like, she can't sing on something that we've written already. I have to write a song just for her. And I went away and wrote it, and very quickly, half an hour it took me, and because I was literally like, when there's someone I have to write for, when there's some like someone that I adore, like the speed with which I can write a song, because there's some songs of ours, like I adore Johnny and Nathan. I'm not saying I don't, I do. It's just that sometimes like a song that's for us, kind of like Life on Earth and the Wildness album took 5 years for me to write, but like somebody says Martha Wainwright's coming in, I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. It was just one of those things, and we recorded the song with me singing it, and she was playing in Dublin the Friday of the last week of our time in Christ Lodge. So we were an hour away. So we went over, we hired a studio opposite the venue, and she came in and recorded the song in one take. One take. The first take is what you hear on the record. She did another take. We didn't use it. We just used the first take. So the very first time she sung the song, it was, is what is on the record, which is...
And had you sent her a tape of it or something?
No, she didn't know this. I'm certain she didn't know the song.
Yeah, amazing.
It's unbelievable. Like if people knew how many times it takes me to sing a song, and then how many times it takes Martha Wainwright to sing a song, they'd be like, "Come on, Gary, buck up." But it's kind of mesmerizing watching someone that good just do her thing. I mean, and also just being in her company is incredible. She's an amazing person.
Yeah, totally. And I love the idea that, the very thought of her getting to sing one of your songs made you write a new one and have it there ready in half an hour or whatever it took.
It would not have existed if it hadn't been for her wanting to, or us asking her and her being up for singing on the record. I would have never written Set the Fire.
Yeah, amazing. She did actually come on Exposure on Radio X, or XFM as it was known at the time, around that time. And she and her brother Rufus came on separately, but the two of them have such amazing charisma.
Unbelievable.
They'd walk in a room and it's like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
We're in the presence of somebody. No.
For sure. But she's so sweet and kind, but she also exactly right. She has that charisma. She has that presence, and you just feel like you're speaking to someone very wise. She's very, very wise. That's the first word I would think when I think of Martha. And I'm looking forward to. We're going to be singing the song with her in the shows that are coming up. We're not even announced yet. I'm kind of announcing it, but yeah. So we're excited to get back to play with her again.
Fantastic. And then you follow that song, Set Fire to the Third Bar, with Headlights on Dark Roads, which kind of takes the pace back up again. And I can't help but, when I listen to this, imagine driving on a country lane, maybe trying to get to that studio that you recorded the album in, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that's what I thought, because Nathan wrote the music, and that's what I thought when I heard it. And that's what informed the song. So that was I did a Roy Walker on that one. I said what I see.
Brilliant. And in terms of that writing, so is that often the case, or was that the case when you're writing Eyes Open? This kind of group, everybody getting together and coming up with various different ideas. And then
I mean, sometimes it's me just sitting down and writing a song, writing the music and the melody or whatever, and then everyone else will sort of join in. Like, I'll take it to everyone else. Not maybe quite a few of them are that way, but yeah, there were definitely moments when Nate would write some, Pablo would write something, and then these days with me, Nathan and Johnny, it's it's very, very, very collaborative. So it feels like it's sort of opened up into that world. I think at the time we were just, my favorite bit of songwriting is the initial idea. It's the moment that the song arrives in the world. I love it. Like, I don't want to use obsessed again. I am kind of smitten with it the sort of the very moment where the song, you can see the song not existing and then existing. I love it. And I'll write and write and write and write and write ideas and ideas and ideas, 10, 20, 15 in a day. Just it's sort of like a drug almost, because you get that moment and that moment. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Do I write lyrics to all of them? No, but some of them, some of them arrive and you go, okay, next, and some of them arrive and you go, oh, that's something, and you take it further. And then I would take that to everyone else. That would be the usual state of affairs back then, where I have an idea and I bring it to everyone else, and then the idea expands and everybody's playing, everybody's having ideas within that little spark.
Yeah, really interesting. And here's an example of that kind of collaborative process now. So this is Snow Patrol with Headlights on Dark Roads on Radio X.
For once I wanna be the car crash, not always just a traffic jam. Hit me hard enough to wake me and lead me wild to your dark roads. My tongue is lost, so I can't tell you. Please just see it in my eyes. I'll pull the thorns from our ripped bodies and let the blood fall in my mouth.
As I said earlier, rockers, bangers and ballads. Snow Patrol, Eyes Open. The 20th anniversary is here this year. We're celebrating in style by playing you the whole thing with Gary Lightbody talking us through it track by track. That was Headlights on Dark Roads. There are 2 more songs to come. Open Your Eyes and The Finish Line.
and so old. The anger swells in my guts, and I won't feel these slices and cuts. I want so much to open your eyes, 'cause I need you to look into mine. Tell me that you'll open your eyes. 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 Get up, get out, get away from these liars, 'cause they don't get your soul or your fire. Take my hand, not your fingers through mine, and we'll walk from this dark room for the last time. Every minute from this minute now, we can do what we like anywhere. I want so much to open your eyes, 'cause I need you to look into mine. Tell me that you'll open your eyes. 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 All this feels strange and untrue, and I won't waste a minute without you.
You are listening to Radio X. I'm John Kennedy, and that is Snow Patrol with Open Your Eyes from the Eyes Open album, celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. And we're part of that celebration time by playing you the whole thing with Gary Lightbody, talking us through it track by track. The 10th song, Open Your Eyes, the 5th single, was it, from the record?
I think it was 4 in the UK.
Right.
I think it was You're All I Have, Chasing Cars, Set the Fire, and Open Your Eyes was the last one in the UK.
Yeah.
And Shut Your Eyes was not UK, it was in Germany and things like that. But
Yeah. But it seems as if in some ways the whole album could have been released as individual tracks, the way it's connected with audiences, and also listening back to it. I feel so familiar with all these songs, you know, even though I probably haven't listened to the whole record for a while, you know, to listen from start to finish. But it just feels like, well, they're part of the fabric of culture.
That's nice. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Open Your Eyes.
Yeah.
That song was written at down in Kerry, down in near Dingle, in the Kate Bush house. Not the running up the hill house, but I'm running up that hill house in the Kate Bush house though. And we were, I think it's one of those songs that like feels like when you write it, you're like, I don't know what to do with it. Like it's one of the songs, like if you write that song as a solo entity, you go, I don't know what this is. It's linear. You need a band to make this song into what it deserves to be. And then you can have dynamics and like make it interesting. That song itself, played acoustically by me, on just me and a guitar, doesn't work. It's one of those songs that I love, those songs that it takes a collective, you know, takes a village to make it work. And everybody shone so brightly on all this record, but that song in particular was one that would not have worked solo, has to work as a band, and those are the songs that I cherish the most, I think, because my whole life has been, I think, you know, made better by the collective, you know?
Yeah, because it just builds and builds and builds, and more things get added to it. I mentioned a choir earlier on. There's a lot of voices on this. Is that the same choir of friends?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And are those strings, or is that the keyboard?
There's some strings in there, yeah. So yeah, some actual strings, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But like that was one of my favorite bits, because it was the bit at the time that I'd never experienced before. Going into like, I can't remember where we recorded. It might have even been Abbey Road. To listen to an actual 30-something piece orchestra play songs he'd written, and like, you know, because it's got to be written out. Jackknife did an awful lot of work on writing out the score and stuff, and it's not something I would have known how to do then, and barely know how to do it now. And even though I've scored films, it's so complex, and yet so it looks so effortless when they play, and feels just, it lifts you off the ground to hear an orchestra play, especially as something that you had a hand in writing. You're like, is this the best feeling? It's not that playing live is the best feeling, but it might be hearing your songs played by an orchestra for the first time.
Yeah, that must be amazing. I agree. But also maybe you must get a thrill, because this is one of those songs that has been used by so many different people in film and television. You know, and we mentioned earlier on about, you know, some of the best goals of all time have been soundtracked by your music, and this is one of them.
Yes.
Wasn't this used by Football Focus as the theme to the program at some point?
It's definitely been used in a few different places, but yeah, that's it. Playing this live is one of my favorite points live. It's one of my favorite moments, and in Brazil, this is bigger than Chasing Cars over there, because it was a #1 record over there. There was a dance remix of it that went to #1 in Brazil. So every time we play this in Brazil at a festival or something like that, it's the one that gets the biggest. Brazil is already like a very, very excitable crowd, and then you get to you get to open your eyes, and it just goes absolutely off the chart. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. So this song I'm glad that this song that means so much to me gets to be the highest stem of wheat in the field in somewhere, Chasing Cars is obviously in that position pretty much everywhere else in the world, but in Brazil, Open Your Eyes gets to be the top of the class.
That's fantastic. I love the fact that the songs have their own life and that you get to sample that life in different ways around the world, and the different kinds of audience reaction, different kind of cultural reaction to the songs is amazing, isn't it? It's fascinating. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why Eyes Open is being celebrated as if it's alive on the 20th anniversary of its release, which is fantastic. And it's interesting that a remix took it to number 1 in Brazil, because you've always embraced things like remixes and kind of experimented with that, and through various different eras you've had people remix your work and let people have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, from I was 19, I met Tom Simpson, who joined the band for 18. He was in the band for 18 years. He taught me how to DJ, taught me about dance music, taught me about soul music. Because I was an indie kid and didn't really know much about it, and then he gave me an education in it, and I adore it so much to this day, and I love it when we get reinterpreted in an electronic way, because I think songs can be whatever. They can be whatever. You write a song on a guitar that has a melody and a chord structure. It can be anything. It can literally be anything. And I love, like, if you just scroll, like I did one time, scroll through like the covers of Chasing Cars on Spotify, and like seeing like there's like the Red Hot Chili Pipers do a version of it, a piping version of it. Yeah. There's like salsa version. There's like there's versions in different languages. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I adore that exists in the world, that you can put something out there in it and people have their own interpretations of it.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting listening back to the record, because on songs like The Finish Line, which we're about to play, and also on You Could Be Happy, I also hear the electronica of that time, that was a part of the soundtrack of that era when you were writing the record, and you embrace as well with artists like Minuscule Shock reworking Snow Patrol and stuff like that, which was much more glitchy, much more downbeat, much more lo-fi, but another interesting sonic world that I think Snow Patrol were actually really aware of and really into, but it didn't necessarily, it wasn't obvious, but I think you can hear it. And The Finish Line, to me, speaks of that.
Yeah, I love that song, and the times we played it live, I've really loved to be sort of it feels immersive. It feels like you're buried in it in the nicest possible way. That it's actually it feels like sort of effervescent around you in the room. We did some shows we called the Reworked tour, like in 2010, 2019. Where we played like a whole bunch of songs reworked, but we also played a whole bunch of songs that we don't normally play, and getting to play The Finish Line in that environment, in like place like the Royal Albert Hall, where you just feel completely surrounded in it. It's such a beautiful sort of moment. And as I was saying, I couldn't remember earlier whether this was always destined to be the last track, even though it was called The Finish Line. I can't remember, but I can't think of a better way to end the record.
Yeah, no, totally. It seems the appropriate place, doesn't it? And we've reached that place now. And when you wrote it, what were you thinking about? Because, it sounds as if you're luxuriating in being immersed in the wonders of nature or something.
Yeah, I think there's moments. I think there's like moments that reference again, what I was talking about, like writing a song, being in that moment, or make this go on forever, being about wanting to extend a moment. Like Chasing Cars is about that too, about just sort of trying to forget the world and be in the moment with someone you love. I think a lot of themes circle back on each other in this record. It's almost like a Mobius strip, because that Chasing Cars theme is in The Finish Line, where you're like, it's pure escapism. and some of it is grounded very heavily in reality, and some of it is grounded like the aftermath of a relationship, the same relationship that I'm talking about in Chasing Cars. But I didn't want to end the album like in that place where you're dwelling on it. So I wanted to go back to that place again. Whether it was written intentionally as the last track on the album, I don't know, but it certainly found its place there and stayed there.
Yeah, fantastic. Gary, thanks so much for coming in and talking to us. It's been brilliant to have you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me.
And great to relive Eyes Open again tonight with you. And this is the last selection from it. This is Snow Patrol with The Finish Line on Radio X.
Warm next to my ear. Insect noise is all that I hear. A magic trick makes the world disappear. The skies are dark, they're dark but they're clear. A distant motorcade and suddenly there's joy. The snow and ticket tape blurs all my senses numb. It's like the finish line where everything just ends. The crack of radio seems close enough to touch. Cold water cleaning my wounds. A sad parade with a single balloon. I'm done with this, I'm counting to 10. Bluest seas running to them. I feel like I am watching everything from space. And in a minute I'll hear my name and I'll wake. I think the finish line's a good place we could start. Take a deep breath, take in all that you could want.
Snow Patrol with The Finish Line on Exposure Radio X, the final track on the Eyes Open album. So good to speak to Gary about this record, so good to hear these tracks again. Such a lot went into the creation of the album, so many different influences and inspirations, and it was fascinating to hear all about them from Gary. Thank you, Gary, for coming in and doing that.